You're listening to the Taming Hindrances podcast, conversations about self-awareness and mental health, as well as a dive into this thing known as spirituality. We talk about everything and anything on the podcast, so come get triggered. That's right. Come get triggered on the Taming Hindrances podcast. As always, my name's Phil. I'm the host and creator of the podcast, and I got another episode for you. This episode is entitled Tribe. We're going to talk about tribes. We're going to talk about what I believe the world has come from and will move to again. But it's something that is also a part of mental health, self-awareness, spirituality. This thing we've always talked about, these tribes or tribalism or tribal nature. Humanity to me is tribal by nature. It is something intrinsic to us. It is something that defines us in many ways. Just like the act of warfare defines us as humans, I think also too does the necessity for us to be tribes or tribal by nature. So let's go over the definition and then we'll talk about a little bit what I'm talking about there. We'll break it down a bit. The definition by Merriam-Webster's dictionary: tribe, the noun, or tribes plural, a social group composed chiefly of numerous families, clans, or generations having a shared ancestry and language. Pretty straightforward there. Next up, a political division of the Roman people, originally representing one of the three original tribes of ancient Rome. You might also have a phyle, Phyle, that is also considered a tribe. That is the largest political subdivision amongst the Athenians. We talk about ancient Greece. Next up, we have a group of persons having a common character, occupation, or interest. Also, a category of taxonomic classification ranking below a subfamily, also including a natural group irrespective of taxonomic rank, a cat tribe or a tribe of roses, those types of things. But let's look at some of the synonyms here, because I think this is where it gets a bit important, specifically regarding humanity, right? Synonyms of tribe: blood, family, house, kindred, kinfolks, line, people, stock, clan, folks, kin, kinfolk, kinsfolk, lineage, race. Now that last one, I got some problems with that. I got some problems with this word we use called race. And Merriam-Webster's dictionary has some problems with it too, because out of all the words I've ever looked up, specifically on Merriam-Webster's dictionary, this word race is a fucking read. It goes on and on and on and on and on. It is probably, I have not looked into this as like a full-on fact, but it probably is one of the longest pages I've ever seen on Merriam-Webster dictionary. I mean, it's definitely one of the longest pages I've ever seen, but I would imagine it's one of the longest definition pages on Merriam-Webster's dictionary. The first definition, it says, see usage paragraph below, which means that it is an ever-evolving idea, that we keep changing this fucking word. We keep changing the definition. We keep trying to give people a better understanding of it. And by that, I mean, it's corrupted. It's coerced. It's being used incorrectly. Specifically when you have to say, see the usage paragraph below. And I'm not going to get into the definitions here because it's all just fucking nonsensical. But when you have to go into this much depth and quote this many individuals in their use. Let's look at just the people they're quoting: Michael Cheney, United States Census Bureau, Tom McClintock. You know, like when we have to just get into this many freaking uses, then we have the dated use, we have the archaic use, we have all sorts of things, right? It's nonsensical. And I don't usually say this about Merriam-Webster's dictionary. I really like Merriam-Webster's dictionary. But this shit is nonsensical. Because it goes back to this understanding of tribes. And it goes back to the understanding of being tribal. So let's, instead of getting into this whole race word, which I believe is nonsensical, my personal opinion, you could disagree with me. I don't really give a fuck. The reason for that being, it's a divisive instrument. It's a weapon. Race is a weapon. It's a weaponized word, and it's a weaponized idea. Remember, I always say everything we are in this modern society is we are at war. War is a defining trait of humanity. And so race is a weapon to be used. It's an absolute weapon to be used. It's a mental faculty. It's a defining a defining divisional line. I will give one definition for race. The one that's lowest on the list for the original, or one of the original uses of race as a noun. It's considered obsolete. It's temperament and disposition. Think about that. One of the obsolete terms for race given to us by William Shakespeare, an inventor of words. Shakespeare is known to have taken words and invented words and created words. It's a Shakespearean by nature to do that. When we talk about, like, I want to be Shakespearean, I want to invent a different use of the language in which I am trained to entertain with. Quote from William Shakespeare in one of his pieces, "And now I give my sensual race the rein." What a fantastical use of words. And now I give my sensual race the rein. Using the definition from the obsolete there, and now I give my sensual temperament and disposition the rein. It was a temperament and a disposition in the Shakespearean vernacular. The fuck does that have to do with skin colors or where you were born or your lineage of genetical background? None of it. It's a nonsensical word. It's just a weapon. So I'm going to give it no more pause in this specific part of this discussion. And instead, I'm going to go back to the definition for tribe and what it is to be tribal. So I've given you a bunch of synonyms: blood, family, house, kindred, kinfolks, line, people, stock, clan, folks, kinsfolk, lineage, race, all that, right? Well, if we have tribes, we then have the ability to be tribal. And what's the definition of tribal? Tribal is used in two ways, as an adjective or a noun. The adjective tribal is of, relating to, or characteristics of a tribe. That is more specifically the divisive nature of what we use race as. It's of, relating to, or characteristics of a tribe. A tribe being defined as a social group composed chiefly of numerous families, clans, or generations having a shared ancestry and language. So I'm here to argue that this use of race is bullshit. And the use case in which we're looking for is to talk about being of a tribe. Because I'm going to spin that all upside down and sideways and put it downrange, because that's a good way to go about this. Now, we also have the definition of a group of persons having a common character, occupation, or interest. Awesome. They could be a race. They could be a tribe. Perfect. Cool. So I want to, like, again, just that whole nonsensical fucking weaponized use of race, and it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. Let me break this one down. I'm pissed. I'm just telling you right now. I'm in a mood, and so I'm going to rant. When we talk about, and it's been changed recently, I have noticed on many forms that I filled out in more recent years, this has been changed. But there used to be this thing called Caucasian. You could, oh, are you Caucasian? No, I'm not. Because let's break down what Caucasian actually means. Asian, meaning coming from the Caucasus mountain ranges in Asia. That is the definition of Caucasian. Now, yes, do a lot of people have Caucasian lineage? Quite a few. In fact, some of the Norse or the what is considered the Viking tribes or the North Germanic tribes interbred with the Caucasus mountain range people, those from the Caucasus, or known as the Caucasians. In travel across the continent to Russia, the Viking, quote unquote, or the Norse lineage societies moving across that would have clearly interacted with the Caucasus mountain range group of people known as the Caucasians, and Belarus, all of that area. So we have the Belarusians, and we have the Norse Russians, and their tribes. These are tribes, people. Tribes. And so, going to the definition of tribal. The noun. Specific. It's a noun. To be tribal as the noun, as a representation of what you or something is. A member of an Aboriginal people of India, usually used in plural. Tribal. The adjective here, though, of relating to or characteristic of a tribe. Again, a tribe being defined as either a social group composed chiefly of numerous families, clans, or generations having a shared ancestry and lineage, a political division of the Roman people, originally representing one of the three original tribes of ancient Rome. So that would be a specific noun definition when talking about the Roman Empire. Also, a group of persons having a common character, occupation, or interest. Oh, we got a lot of tribes nowadays. But here's the thing. You know how I feel about connotation, right? Take the connotation out of the argument. Negative connotation, maybe it's not negative. Positive connotation, maybe it's not positive. We can look at it differently. That's perspective. That's the way we take things. We got a lot of different interests out there. We got a lot of different occupations. We got a lot of different people with different characters, right? Different personalities. In fact, the way I define it, we have depression, right? It's uniquely who you are. So everyone, by that definition, is simply a tribe of their own. I have been my own tribe for a very long time. But we have other things that bring us together. We have these tribes. We have tribes of interest, occupation, or character. And a hospital is a tribe. They're a hospital group. They are a tribe. They don't always act that way because it's hard to get to know someone if you never really see them. Maybe they work a different shift. But in general, it could be the hospital X tribe. A sports team is a tribe. Your family unit is a tribe. Your interest group, your friends group is a tribe. And so the tribes we interact with make this interesting statement about humanity. As far as I've said so far, or everything I've said so far, including all the episodes that I've done, specifically those recently when I did the war episode 63, humanity is a warring thing. We are a warring populace. We are a warring entity, species, whatever you want to call it. We are the inventors of war, the actors of war. It's the one thing we're fucking fantastic at. We're also, in this statement, in this episode, I'm stating that we're also tribal. We're tribal by nature. It's in our nature to be tribal. What's that look like from a grander scale? Well, to be tribal is simply to, and I'm going to blend the two definitions here of tribal and tribe, of relating to or characteristics of a social group composed chiefly of numerous families, clans, or generations having a shared ancestry and language, or a group of persons having a common character, occupation, or interest. That's to be tribal, right? So as much as we say you can have the tribe of you, tribe of one, tribe of the family unit, that's how we can associate the divisional lines that they've been using to break us apart. Because they have been using divisional lines to break us apart for a very long time. All the way back to medieval empires. And the king and the queen and the aristocracy and the peasant class or the serf class or the caste system or the use of xenophobic vernacular as far as what we consider quote unquote a tribe of a regional people, such as the different regions of China, the Han, the Sun. When you go to a Chinese restaurant and you get a specific, like a Szechuan something or other, it's a regional item, but there also are the people of the Szechuan province. The provinces of China would be considered tribes. And so you have the Szechuan tribe, which created the Szechuan cuisine. In Japan, we have all of the prefectures, which even going deeper there, we would have the Edo period of the Warring State period of Japan, where they had each of the family lineages, the Uesugi, or the I apologize, my history of the Warring State period of Japan is lacking nowadays. I've forgotten all the names of all the different clans, but clan, tribe, these are, clan is a synonym of tribe. And so when we talk about being tribal, we've always been tribal. We've always been uniquely defined, depending on the people we hang out with, to the way our blood works as far as being born genetically through an encodation of DNA and RNA from the mother and the father that makes up this child that then gets raised into a group of other like-skinned mind, or, and I mean that by, like, there's cats and there's the taxonomy of cats and dogs and other species, and then there's us, right? I don't mean it by colors that way. I mean it by, like, our defining features of human. We're the human tribe. But we're also the Adidas tribe or the Nike tribe. And I'm not using those names to be like, yeah, go buy them. They're good companies. Fuck them. They're just corporate entities. They are not a tribe. They do not have our shared interest. It's an occupation. But Nike and Adidas and healthcare organizations and political structures, they're not tribes of the people. They're tribes of those types of species, those types of entity. They are a corporate entity. Thus, they are the tribe of corporations, not the tribe of people, not the tribes of humans. Massive difference there. There's such a massive difference there that we've actually crossed the boundary at which we believe ourselves to be less than these things, or in somehow incorporated into these things. That the employee somehow is part of the entity, and you're not. As an employee of an entity, of a company, you are not that company. You are not a part of its tribe. You are employed by it. Well, Phil, that's an occupation, which means a group of persons having common character, occupation, or interest. That's arguable. Occupation, well, you know what, just for the sake of it, let's grab the definition of occupation. All right, occupation. An activity in which one engages. Okay. The principal business of one's life, that's vocation. The possession, use, or settlement of land, occupancy. The holding of an office or position. The act or process of taking possession of a place or area. The holding and control of an area by a foreign military force. The military force occupying a country, or the policies carried out by it. Interesting. Occupation. Well, there's a definition we didn't really need to get over, but we had to kind of come into here. But let's just go top lines here. An activity in which one engages. Well, is your occupation McDonald's? Is it an activity in which one engages? If you are an employee of that company, no, your occupation is employee of. You were employed by. You're an employee. That's your occupation, is to be employed by. As a cashier, as a marketing specialist, as a, if you're in a restaurant, a line cook or a wait staff individual, that's occupation. The principal business of one's life, that's your vocation. Different things, okay? So the entity is not your occupation. The entity is its own tribe, and you cannot be a part of it because you're not an entity of that tribe. You are not your own corporate center in that way. You're trying to be an individual. You want to be a corporation, you want to be an individual. There's a lot of different tax law on that, the way they state it. So there's some precedence for those ideas, but I'm getting a little far afield here. So let's bring it back. Tribes. To be tribal. Well, let me, I've been on a little rant here about all those, the warring states and the governments and the corporations. And I'm not anti-corporation. I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-bullshit. I'm anti-nonsense. I don't care which political party you're part of. 2 of them is not enough. Get me more, and then maybe we can have a real discussion about actual different viewpoints. There's a reason monopolies is a thing, not just a cool board game. Antitrust laws and protection for the consumer. These things exist in law because those boundaries were forced. Anytime something gets written into law, like hard law, things that don't change very often, that not one political party or advocacy group comes in to try to like churn up now and then to make it more in their favor. Hard laws. That means someone did something so heinous, a law had to be written to prevent people from doing that to law-abiding citizens. Most laws are not written because law-abiding citizens need to be corralled or more controlled. And again, I'm not advocating here for more government and more. I'm against big governments. I think we need to dumb that shit down. What I'm speaking about here is the act of being tribal or being in a tribe. Those individuals that act outside the tribe, or do not consider themselves to be, or are not acting tribal, or tribally, I guess maybe that would, yes, tribally would be the adverb. Those individuals who are not acting tribally, not of relating to or the characteristics of the tribe, a social group composed chiefly of numerous families, clans, or generations having a shared ancestry and language, a group of persons having a common character, occupation, or interest. Those people not acting tribally get dealt with. That's the rule of society. Society being the interactions thereof between these tribes. I am a tribe of one. I often act as a tribe of one. I do well as a tribe of one. Doesn't mean I don't act tribally. I act in my own best interest. I interact with other tribes. In fact, I guess if I had to look back on it and, you know, what I do now and the way I interact with most tribes around me, I'd be kind of like that traveling merchant. You know, I probably would have had a token on the Silk Road and slogged off through deserts and other locales to, you know, find, buy, and sell and trade wares. That's probably something I would have gotten myself into because that's how I act. And if I'm supplanting myself here now, who I am, mental health, all the depression, everything that makes up me, my depression, this individual I've become, and supplanted it back into that time period, that's probably how I would have interacted because I would have not been a part of a group. I don't do well in them. I am tribal in that sense. It's not to say that I'm against them. I don't war with them. I don't fight with them over things like that. I do that. Or I shouldn't say kinetically, I don't do that. My warfare is based mentally because all warfare is based in the mind. And so we have the infighting of a tribe, right? Which creates new little divisions of tribes. And this understanding will give you a broader understanding of not only just yourself, but the things going on around you, but the interactions that you're getting caught up in maybe. And I don't mean this to be preachy or oratorial, which it kind of sounds that way. I do apologize for the first 23 minutes here of this rant a little bit. I want you to be wary of individuals' actions. And do they fit inside of your tribe? Are they tribally in your interest or in the interest of your tribe? What is your tribe? Who are they? What are they? What do they stand for? Like really stand for, like would go to war over. Kinetic war is a better way to describe that. What would you kinetically go to war over? Because I think if you start to line those things up and you start to look at who you fundamentally are as a person and the people around you, those who inhabit your space that you give your time to, no, you might not all agree on things. A tribe doesn't necessarily all agree. There's been plenty of treatises on what is the appropriate way to allow for a tribe or a society to grow. Is it, you know, governmental rule? Is it rule of the public opinion? Is it, you know, we've seen many different versions of this. Monarch, you know, the monarch. Well, let me grab a list. Why not? Why don't we just grab a list? List of government bodies or government types. I think is a good, that might give us list of the forms of government. I don't like using Wikipedia, but it's quick here. We'll use it anyway. Let's see. We got anarchy, aristocracy, bureaucracy, capitalism, confederation, colonialism, communism, democracy, electrocracy, ergotocracy, federalism, feudalism, genocracy, kleptocracy. It goes on. Military dictatorships, monarchies, oligarchies, plutocracies, republicanism, and socialism, right? Well, let's talk about what's going on here in the United States of America, because I think a lot of people get this one wrong. Again, I don't mean to be preaching oratory here. It's just how this is my mood today. This is how it's coming out. We are not a democracy. The United States of America is not a democracy. It's what's known as a republic. There's an important distinction there to be made. And I think for the tribe of America to survive, everyone needs to understand that you live in a republic. But what's that really mean? It doesn't mean you're all Republicans. It doesn't mean you are a Republican or you believe in the Republican Party. The Republican Party is completely different to the actual republic itself. Just like the Democratic Party is completely separate to that which is known as democracy. That differentiation, and right now I'm pausing because I'm thinking, like, maybe I should just make a separate video on this. Okay, or do a separate podcast on this, and I'll probably have to do something along those lines. I don't know what I would call it, but we could, I'll have to figure that out. For this discussion, a republic is the rights of the individual. A republic, to be a people's republic, means that the individual holds the rights. You are an individual sovereign idea and you have your own rights. A democracy is the rule of law applied. Right? That's the governing form. Which is why when I was looking, when we're looking at that list, if you can go to Wikipedia right now and look at the forms of governments. Republic is not on there. Republicanism was on there. Democracy was on there. These are the forms of government. Republics are not a form of government. They are the statement of the individual rights of the person. And you live in the United States of America, which is a republic for the people by the people, which means you individually hold your rights. So we are a tribe of individuals who, under the foundation of the United States of America, believe in the fundamental rights of the individual. That's why we have a Bill of Rights. What does that mean? Well, it means a lot of shit. But specifically when it comes down to tribes, the United States of America is a tribe of people who believe in that. Not Democrats or Republicans or Libertarians or Tea Party or all that. That's all nonsense. Okay, that's just a dissemination of the tribes, making one tribe into smaller little tribes, which happens, that occurs, but we are a republic. I know I'm focused specifically on the USA right now, but in that idea, right, we're all Americans, okay? And that's just America I'm talking about. Canadians, they can all be Canadians. Chinese, they can all be Chinese, overarchingly, but they have a provincial nature. And I think if you went to China, you would find quite a bit of xenophobia, even between the provinces and other outside states. It's just kind of something that goes in culturally there. Japanese, they're a nationalized state. So it's all about nationalism. A national state is all about the state. Japan. It's all about Japan. Nihon. The Nihon people. Communism, that's where you can have your tribe, but all the tribe answers to the larger collective. That larger collective is ruled by a tribe that define themselves as being better of or better in some way than the tribes below. So it's like a head tribe all over the little tribes. And this is where this understanding of tribes becomes really important when we start talking about government forms and bodies. Even your communities and the way that we govern ourselves. That's all the macrocosm, right? Half hour into this, let's break it down. Mental health, self-awareness. Why does a tribe matter? What is your tribe? Who are your tribal people? The These are the people that when the shit hit the fan, you might rely on. They're also the people that when you're having a day, you reach out to, or you hang out with, or you get, you spend time around. You appreciate their values and their ethics and their morals and their conversation. You appreciate maybe just their presence in a room. A husband and a wife, or a wife and a wife, or whatever I don't really give a shit about that whole argument. That's all sexual preference. It's nothing to do with anything other than that. Those individuals, maybe it's just the presence. You are a tribe of that tribe. You are a tribe of two then, right? You and I having this conversation, which is one-sided, I admit, because you're listening to me. But you listening to this, we're a tribe of two right now. Just you and me. We're just talking. Maybe you have some other people. Maybe some other people listening to this right now. If there is, okay, we're just all a tribe right now. And that tribe can have some breakdowns, right? Maybe you don't agree to the things I'm talking about. Maybe we don't have common character. Maybe we won't have a common occupation. Maybe we don't even have common interests. Maybe we're not a tribe. That's fine too. Like I said, I'm kind of like that little traveling merchant that has to go around to all the different tribes. And so you get dissemination, which is the dissipation of centralization. Tribes are one of the most important things that could possibly exist in modern society, because we are tribal people. We are not races. We are not... I'm trying not to go back into that whole argument. We are communities defined by our values and our functions of the ways in which we want to live our lives. And so in that regard, you got to look at yours. You got to look at your tribe. What is your tribe? And maybe your family unit isn't your tribe. That's that's my background. My background comes from the fact that I didn't agree with my family unit. That wasn't the tribe for me. Nor was some of the other tribes I tried. And I tried a bunch of tribes. I tried to get along with different people, and I learned that I'm just a tribe of me. As a tribe. But it didn't mean I didn't interact with, or interact to this day, with other individuals and other tribes and other understandings. Right? Xenophobia is when you have that tribe and anything outside that tribe is just not okay. Nope, we want nothing to do with it. That's known as xenophobia. That leads to the downfall of a lot of things, a lot of situations that can get very, very bad very quickly. Let's look at North Korea. That's what's known as xenophobia. Communism plus xenophobia plus the breakdown of the tribal idea that the tribe isn't just one person. That's the beauty behind humanity. Let's go to the definition real quick. Let me break it down a little bit differently for you. The definition of a tribe: a social group. First specific word there, social. Second word, group. All right. So if I'm a tribe of me, am I social and am I a group? Ooh. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no, my singular tribe might be breaking down. All right, so I gotta look a little bit outside that to get my tribe. I can go real big, I can go real broad. Like, I'm a human, that's my tribe. I'm an earthling, that's my tribe. I mean, shit, like I do like cats a lot. So like if an alien race showed up and they're like, we're gonna take out all the cats, I'm picking up a gun. We're gonna have it out. No, I'm not taking away my cats. Cats are great. I don't own any cats, but like I would defend the cat populace if some aliens showed up and were like, hey, we're eliminating cats off your planet. I'm like, oh fuck no, you're not. So maybe I'm just in the tribe of cat lovers. Cool. But again, a social group composed chiefly, so mainly, of numerous families, clans, or generations having shared ancestry and language. Well, I can tell you a lot of languages can break down into some shared lineages. So if you want to go that route, you have the Teutonic languages. You have the Latin languages. So you all have some pretty solid shared ancestry, no matter what your skin color is. That's fucking a mute point if at a language level, that's a mute point. Trust me on that one. Don't trust me, actually. Go look into it. It's very interesting. A group of persons, again, a group of persons, plural, having a common character, occupation, or interest. You know what every human is interested in? Breathing. Definitely interested in breathing. I mean, not all of us. There are some of us, including myself, actually. I should correct my statement there. For a very long time in my life, I've been like, you know what? Breathing's bullshit, and I would really like to die. So that is a separation there, but it's still its own interest. Right? So cellular functions, every human cell, maybe not the consciousness ruling over them, maybe not our minds, okay? So we have some differentiation there. We have some minds. But all of the cells that are human, or considered human cells, part of the human genomes, they're all of the same interest. They all want to replicate and live. There's no one's human's body who is just trying to die. That's not how cells work. That's not how the human system works. That's not how the human body works. The human body is trying to live, trying to do things, trying to do, apoptosis, trying to replicate cells, trying to do cell division and all sorts of other functions that the cellular structures of the human body are trying to do. There's also a bunch of bacteria in there doing their own thing and all sorts of stuff trying to live, essentially. So they're all of a tribe. So all my human cells are of tribe of your human cells. They all have a shared interest. Common interest. Characteristically, they are the same. They're human cells. Now, yeah, they have some differentiation as far as genome of DNA and RNA and, genetic lineage and those types of things. Fine. Okay. But it's all still a single tribe there. And so I think when you look at tribes, you can see the breakdown of the corruption and the coercion of having to divide people as much as we've tried to. And what does that mean for mental health and self-awareness? And I know this one's been all over the place, but let me bring it into that regard. Let me bring it into the focus of mental health and self-awareness. And earlier in this podcast, in this episode, I said, I was going to throw that word race downrange. It means I'm going to put it on the other side of the battle. It's downrange for me. It's the enemy, right? If you're going to be downrange for me, you're probably going to get shot at or engaged in some way. For me, I don't do a lot of shooting, so it's engaged with verbs and nouns and adjectives and conjunctions and all of the other faculties of language. In regards to mental health and self-awareness, you can be aware of yourself quite readily by looking at the tribes you're involved in. Seeing what kind of influence they have on you. If you truly want to be a part of that tribe, maybe you just got brought into it. Maybe you were born into that tribe, or maybe you got coerced into or corrupted into it. Maybe you had no other choice. You just had to be a part of that tribe. Maybe it's fleeting membership. All right. On the mental health side of it, you do get to be a tribe of your one person tribe. You can be a 2-person tribe. You can be a 3-person tribe. It does say a social group. Cool, a group. Well, we have the mind, body, and the spirit. They all activate individually of each other and rely on each other for translation. So I would say they themselves are a group. So the grouping of you, your mind, body, and your spirit. Those 3 things. I talked about getting into spirituality a little bit more in this podcast, and I did for a little while, and I came away from it, and now I'm coming back to it a little bit. I think to be a tribe requires spirituality. I really do. I think a requirement of humanity is to be at war. We love it. We're good at it. We do it well. It's something that's in us. We created it. We're awesome at it. It's part of our imagination. we could get better about the way we go about it. I don't think we need guns anymore. I don't think kinetic war is a necessity of humanity. That was just like a stop along the way. We can get over the kinetic warfare bullshit and get into like some really good warfare. We could be better at war. That's the funny thing. Like, we keep making advances in kinetic war. That's all nonsense. We could be way better at other forms of war. We could make war just so much better. We could get so much better at it. We could end planets. We could take over the galaxy. Take over solar systems. We could, we could be better at war. Think about that. The only reason we're good at the warfare that's known as kinetic warfare or cyber warfare, other types of warfare that are human to human, is because the tribes are warring. What if the tribes went to war? Unfortunately, we don't have an outside target. That is usually the problem when you're trying to put artillery, and I'm talking like I'm a military personnel. I'm not, but I just have known quite a few military personnel, and this is the vernacular of war. If you're trying to put artillery for effect on a location, you need a target, and you need a target designation, right? So you need some sort of coordinates. You need a typography of the location. You need the type of target. So if I give you a location point, cool. Give you some longitude and latitude. It's good to know what type of target are we trying to engage here. Also, what's the topography, right? So if we're trying to engage a bunker, but that bunker is located on a mountain, I have the longitude and latitudinal points of it. Cool. I can engage it pretty effectively. I can put some artillery for effect on location. I can engage. All right. Well, unfortunately, those classifications are other tribes right now. But if it became another planet, if it became another species of things, we would probably be very, very good at this. We just don't do that because we don't have that. We don't have that connection yet. We don't have a necessity for the tribes to not be tribal. That's the point of mental health and self-awareness and spirituality. Because I do believe part of spirituality, or one of the necessities of tribal nature, is spiritual by nature. And so, one of the defining points of modern society is the tribes lack targets. So we had to split up into smaller tribes so that we could create more target. In warfare, it's good to have a target-rich environment. If I have a target-rich environment, I got lots of options for things I can target. I can destroy. I can coerce, corrupt, route. I got a lot of things downrange. Again, I'm just using military vernacular. I'm not a military personnel. Please do not distinguish that. I have too much respect for military personnel to even include myself in their world. I just know and have been privileged, been taught their vernacular. For the most part, I'm still wrong about something. Some of it just sounds nonsensical and I'm not getting correct, but close enough for me. Humanity is a bunch of tribes who needed more targets, so we created more tribes. Humanity is a tribe who created more tribes to create more targets so that their propensity for war could continue on and on and on and on. Well, you do that in yourself quite often. And so your mental health can often be a misrepresentation of the tribes you're trying to involve yourself with. The tribes you think you're stuck in or a part of or define you. When in fact it is the individuals who define the tribes. That's also what's known as a republic. So we have a social group. Well, to be a social group must mean we have multiple individuals. Composed chiefly of family, clans, generations, ancestry, and shared languages. We also have a group of persons having a common character. Well, again, a group, multiple people, persons, plural, having a common character. Occupation or interest. These differentiations are what give us target-rich environments, things to engage with. And warfare being first a mental state, the use of imagination, simulation, we're poor at picking our targets. We keep picking each other, different tribes, different understandings, ways of thinking. Because we've run out of outside influences. And the ones that we do pick are detrimental to us. Let's engage the planet. Why would we engage the planet? Why are we targeting the planet? Why are we, and why questions, spiritual questions. Like I said, tribalism is, or to be tribal is a spiritual function. Why are we engaging the planet? Why are we engaging one another? Why are we engaging in kinetic warfare, right? I would argue it's just because we don't have anything else to do right now. Because we're being led by individuals who have a different definition of tribes, a different definition of what a tribe is or what tribe they're really a part of. They don't believe in the humanity tribe. They don't think they're part of the humanity tribe. They're trying to create some other new tribe that's not human. Eventually they're going to try to call it evolution. That's the evolution of the individual to not be human anymore, to be something evolved. And they're going to change the definition of evolution to make them fit into that set. Because that's the coercion of language. That's my argument between the definition of race and the definition of tribe. And the nonsensical bullshit we are in a constant state every day. The constant state of war, one tribe against another. So what's your tribe? Who are your people? What do you want to represent? What would you fight for? And I don't mean this to radicalize anyone, and I don't mean this to call you to action. I do it to call you to awareness of, like, you know, what are these tribes around you? What are they doing? What are they standing for? Knowing that a tribe is a social group or a group of persons. I don't need to add in the other parts of those definitions. It's simply a social group or a group of persons. That makes up a tribe. I would argue they don't need to agree on how or have common character, occupation, or interest. They do if they're going to be tribal, if they're going to be acting or relating to the characteristics of the tribe, if they're going to go to war over those things. And so my general argument for this episode is, do we need to be tribal? Or are we simply tribes? Right now, I believe it is in our nature. This is why I feel like humanity is a failed experiment, to always be tribal, to always draw divisional lines, to always come up with new targets downrange, and doesn't matter who that ends up being, as long as we have one. And if that is true, okay, I'm on board. I'm built for warfare. Mentally, physically, I'm built for it. My ancestral lineage, my tribe, is in some way or was some way a tribe of warriors. I just understand it. I'm defined by it. I'm built for it. I just don't agree with the targets we're choosing currently. It's why I do this podcast. Because I've never agreed that another human should be my target. I continue to disagree with the idea that another human should be my target. That is one of the defining principles of my depression, of my self-awareness, of my mental health. Because I had always defined it as that I should be my own target. And I don't think that was wrong. And I don't want you to think that is wrong if that's how you feel. Sometimes, all the time, every once in a while. Because we like to put this weird connotation on people who want to be suicidal and people who want to take their lives and don't want to be a part of society, or people who want to be out on the fringes and, don't want to be part of the tribe. Fuck you. Guess what? Those individuals are the individuals who aren't targeting other humans. Those are the individuals who have some modicum of self-control to know that their life should not affect someone in the way in which it takes their life away from them. The individual who knows about harming themselves, the individual who knows about not wanting to exist anymore, not wanting people to pay attention to them, wanting to walk in the shadows and just be left alone, are the individuals who know that targeting another human isn't the right way. The unfortunate side of that, though, is also that they do not understand that they too are human. And so targeting themselves is also not okay. It took me a really long time to figure that out because I hadn't chosen, and I still haven't, to be a part of the tribe of humanity. I choose to be a tribe of my own, a classification of a merchant who goes in between. And so, yes, I am still left out on my own doing things like this podcast, practicing the function of bodywork in my bodywork practice, speaking out against war, tribal nature that targets other tribes in and of the same tribe. And so I try to figure out what it is to be humanity, what it is to be spiritual, what it is to have mental health and self-awareness. Because I would much rather see an existence in which a lot of people in one tribe had something known as self-awareness, had discipline, and all these other topics I've talked about, but also understood the functions of war. Understands the function of pain, history, the cycles of chaos, chaos creation, order, and destruction. A tribe of people who wanted to try to understand spirituality. Understanding, with that comes the function that, no, we're not going to agree. And ultimately, I will continue to say I don't think we're ever going to make my expectations. I think we're going to fail. I think I've set humanity up in my mind to fail. And that is a part of being a tribe of my own, being a tribe of one. I don't wish harm upon your tribe. It's not that I don't even want to be a part of it. I want to interact with it. That's what I do. I just don't want to be left defining my targets based on nonsense. Because my target has always been and continues to be to this day myself. All the time. I've chosen not to engage the target. That's the differentiating, defining period of my tribe and the way I am being tribal. Tribal, the adjective, defining of, relating to or characteristic of a tribe. My tribe being defined as a social group or a group of persons who agree that they themselves are the target, but they choose not to engage. I'm not trying to bring harm to myself anymore. I don't think you should be trying to bring harm to yourself anymore. I think we can find other ways to wage war. We can even use that in a symbolic method, such as Shakespeare used the word race. The quote being, "And now I give my sensual temperament or disposition the rein," i.e., and now I give my sensual race the rein. I think we can use it symbolically to wage war against government tyranny, to wage war against I want to say stupidity, but I mean stupidity in the sense of individuals acting in methodologies that do not agree to their terminology. Individuals calling for climate change. Individuals calling for wokest actions do not practice what they preach. And thus, they themselves are not the target, everyone else is. That's a poor function of war. We can be better at this thing known as war. We can eliminate cancers. We could probably eliminate disease if we really set our minds to it. I'm pretty sure we could colonize every other planet in the solar system if we really wanted to. But we're just too busy. Too busy fighting wars among the tribes. And we could even do that better. Shit. Archaic us, ancient us, were way better at waging wars between each other. Oh, they were so much better at it. We can look at this functionally. The way the old tribes waged war amongst themselves, way better than the way we do it now. Something came of it. There was growth. There was opportunity. No, I'm not condoning that methodology of war. I'm simply stating, as a tribal party, as a tribal member, every nation, every government, every individual has responsibilities. And I think in the act of self-awareness, in the act of mental health, the responsibility is to target yourself. And the only function for engagement is not to harm, in the sense of kinetic warfare or those types of wars. I think the function there is to define, interact, test, refine, understand, delve deeper. The responsibility of the tribe of humanity is to look inside of ourselves and figure out why it is that we must, for some reason, act out of ourselves onto others. Why influence is so important to some. Social influencers, political influencers, anti-political influencers, anti-social influencers. Why so many of us have been taught that for some reason to measure oneself, we must see how often we can influence another. It's a weird methodology. I suppose it's an interesting understanding of war. Another poor representation, though. We can get better. We can keep inventing new forms of warfare that don't include all of this nonsense. It's unfathomable how small we really are in the universe. Just down to the minute level of there are giant, I forget what they're called. Space, I want to call them space fountains, but they're not space fountains. Essentially, black space jets, not in the jet form, doesn't matter. Think of a fountain or jet, an expulsion of. There's these massive structures out in the universe that spew out hydrogen in the trillions of tons constantly, just out there, just creating all sorts of new matter. We're just like getting pissed off because someone cut us off in traffic. Because that's somehow imposed their will upon us that they're more important than us. Because I let them cut me off in traffic. Rah. It's nonsense. So too is the nonsense of, I don't understand who I am. I don't know what tribe I want to be a part of. That's also nonsense. And so if we take the nonsense less seriously and simply use it as tools of warfare, just like the word race has become a tool of warfare, we so too can use that in and of us, inside of ourselves, to look at the tribes we want to be a part of, the tribes we interact with. And so tribalism can replace racism. Can be used as a new tool of warfare. Because apparently we still need to be at war somehow. So let's progressively go through this. What would that look like? Okay, well, let's talk about what tribalism is, right? Tribalism, I'm just going to look up the definition because I didn't have it ready, but we're going to get into it. Tribal consciousness and loyalty. Exaltation of the tribe above other groups. Strong in-group or loyalty. Okay. Tribal consciousness. So consciousness basing off the relationship or the characteristic of the tribe, which is a group of persons, typically sharing some sort of trait or interest. Well, in that sense, isn't a republic an amazing thing? A tribe of individuals who believe in the rights of the individuals over that of the group or the government or the corporation. So we can create opportunity. You know what? I can just continue going on and on and on and on. And I need to refrain from doing that. I challenge the current methodology of tribes and tribalism and to be tribal. Because yes, humanity is tribal by nature. But looking at the control structure of what that means, eliminating the connotations. How should we, do we, or could we define tribes? How do you, could you, or would you define your tribe? How do you, could you, or would you define the necessity for a tribe? How do you, could you, would you group the tribes? This is taxonomy. This is the scientific process of defining things and pulling them apart and coming up with new structures and new ideas. You know what the balance to all of that is? Fuck it, it's all nonsense. We're all one tribe, one people, blah, 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 whatever. Humans, let's go find some alien shit to blow up. But I'm a pacifist. Well, cool. You be a pacifist and do you. We're going to go blow some shit. We're going to get some space marines and we're going to go blow some shit up. Why not? Right? Why not? Why not go like let Elon Musk turn Mars into like technocracy, crazy, like, you know, you think fucking corn on the cob and all of a sudden like a machine over there, a vending machine just like shoots one at your face, but like a cool bubble slows it down right before it gets to you and you munch it. And then just wastefully, it just like disappears off. You only ate like a little bit of it. It doesn't matter. Why not? Why not like turn Europa into like, you know, like the biggest gun range in the universe where we're just like, I'm just going to like shoot a railgun at like, you know, an asteroid out there. Why not? Why not? Why? Why question? Spiritual question. Why not? Why not? I have no idea. Are we too limited in our perspective? Are we too limited in the idea of our tribes? Maybe we should expand our tribes. Maybe we should be like, you know, one planet isn't enough. Or maybe one planet is enough. Maybe we should like figure that out too. Or like maybe we want to be like, no, yeah, you know what? Let's make Earth like the theme park. Okay. And like it's going to be like all the scenery. And then like we'll have dystopian societies off on other planets. Like why not? Why not make VR a huge thing? We're so caught up into the nonsensical bullshit of the people in the elitism, in the social influence spectrum, in the everyone thinks they're not in your tribe and thinks they're better than you world, that we don't have those imaginative thought processes of how to fight war against war. I'm in the tribe, but the target is myself. The engagement function, the factors of my warfare are not kinetic. I do not harm myself physically anymore. I have evolved by nature. I have decided to combat myself with knowledge and conversation and discourse and self-awareness and controlling my mental health. This is the action of all tribes. To better the tribe. That is the function of a tribe. Yes, it took me an hour and 6 minutes to get to this factor, but here it is. The function of a tribe is to make the tribe better. That's it. So my tribe, myself, I aim to make myself better. If I include myself in other tribes, be it for a day, a month, a year, doesn't matter. It could be 30 seconds at a conversation at an event. I want to make that tribe better. There's morals and ethics and all other sorts of conversations that go along with that, but the function of a tribe is to be tribal. To be tribal is to make the function of the tribe better. So I challenge us to find new ways to fight wars. I challenge us to find new ways to solve conflicts. I challenge us to find new ways to save the bees. I challenge you to self-awareness, mental health, spirituality. Dive into it. Indulge in it. Change the contextual nature in which you function to better yourself. Because you can. You absolutely can. I know this has been a dreary, a little bit down episode, but you absolutely can change yourself. You can absolutely be better. Be a better tribe. Be a better you. It's absolutely possible. You got to put in the work, though. You got to put in the effort. You, the group, the person, that's what makes up the tribes. They have to. You have to put the work in. Put the effort in. And stop listening to all the nonsense and all the bullshit. That's what Zen talks about. That's what Chan Buddhism talks about. That's what the dharmic and karmic laws of Jainism and the study of Hinduism and the way in which the edicts are set up. That's what Christianity and Islam and Judaism speaks about in some regards when it talks about the parable or the nonsensical nature of a single leader to a tribe, or the tribes. The Sunnis, the Shiites, the Jews, Hasidic or non, the Canaanites, these are all tribes. Be careful who's trying to rule your tribe. Pick your target and pick your form of engagement. You might find tribe gets a little bigger, or it functions better. I think I'll leave it at that. There's much more I can go on about, but I've already passed the hour mark, which I'm trying to keep it to. Check out taminghindrances.com for all sorts of resources on the archive, taminghindrances.com/archive. Head over to purebulk.com. Use Taming Hindrances as a coupon code to get 10% off your order. Although I think right now they might be running a 15% off. So use that one. You don't have to support me in that way. If you get a better discount, go for it. What else? I'll leave it at that. I'll catch you on the next one.